Well, hello there. It's another day. I'm Jim Harrington.
And I am Bill Knight. Well, it's been an interesting day in news. Not a lot of news, but some pretty big stories. And obviously, I think the one you called me on, yes, I was wrapped up in something else, not paying attention to the news. And then you called me with the story about Robin or Robert or
I'm referring to him as Robert.
Identify.
You know, I think that our times have made a big mistake when it comes to trans. Look at you can be whatever you want to be. Okay, you can feel however you want to feel. But I was thinking if you walked down the street and you saw a guy having an argument with a tree, right? I mean, and it was a violent argument with a tree. You'd think the guy had a problem, and you wouldn't encourage him. You would probably say, hey, come on, that's just a tree, and let's get away and maybe get you some help. You wouldn't go by and say, hey, you give him hell. You give that tree hell. You have a right to be ticked off. That tree is
in your way.
It's in, you have, we are saying to people who have an issue, oh, yeah, you feel like a woman? Yeah, you're a woman. You're absolutely a woman, and I would submit that is not helping the problem. That's actually making the problem more of a problem. You instead of giving people the support and help that they really need when they have confusion in their life, we actually allow it to continue to go, oh, fine, you're confused. Well, yeah, you should be. Maybe you think you're a woman. Fine. Because they run into other problems, Bill. They run into other problems in life. You say to somebody, yeah, you're a woman. Okay, now you still have the physical problem. You got the problem of you have male genitals. Every morning when you wake up and look in the mirror, you realize, God, I can't be a woman. I got male genitals, right?
Yeah. In this age of self-identity, and I run into somebody, I address them as an individual, but that's wrong because they might think they're a mailbox. If I go, well, hello, sir, I'm not a sir. Well, okay, ma'am, I'm not a ma'am. All right. At this point in time, all right, if you identify as something other than the norm, wear a frickin' label. This is what give me a clue as to what you think you are.
Have you seen some applications recently, Boo?
Yes, I have.
What do you identify as is written on many application forms now.
Well, no, I get that. And because they've made it hard, and because that's, instead of saying wear a label, we're asking for them to give us their label. But that could change at any moment in time. So take all the, which means you got multiple personalities, take all the badges with you. There you go. There's a business for us, Jim. We could make $1 million each, probably in a day, by making identifying labels, little pins that you wear. Now check off all the ones you need, and we'll send them to you for $9.99 each.
Look, Bill, I think that people who have these issues, they're real to them. They're very real to them, and they are not to be mocked. They are to be taken seriously. But I also think that you don't help them by actually embellishing their fantasy. Do you know? I mean, if you're going to say, yeah, you're a woman. Yeah, sure. No problem. As a matter of fact, we're going to take you downtown, and we're going to change your name.
Buy you a dress, yeah.
We're going to change your name. First of all, this is something which I think has got to be an incredible disappointment to a lot of these people, because they think that if they change their name, it's going to actually change how they feel. It doesn't.
No.
It doesn't. So
it doesn't change anything. But a lot of these identity things, I think, have been programmed into them, because then, he thinks he's a woman. He needs to go get the cut and tuck,
Yeah.
Or the girl needs to get the surgical alteration. Once you go there, the road back it's not a complete road. It doesn't take you all the way back. And I'm just,
I saw a guy. I take that back. I saw a woman who, when she was young, was confused, like Robert Western probably was confused when he was 17 and had his name changed. And she approached her parents, who indulged her fantasy to a point where they said, "Yeah, you're a guy." Yeah, no, and this woman actually, at a very young age, had body-changing operations. I mean, not just breast reductions, but breast removals, and took chemicals to grow hair, and all these things that were done to encourage her fantasy. And after it all was said and done, as she got older, as she went from like 17 to 22, she started to realize, as she matured, how stupid she was, how confused she was. Maybe stupid isn't the word. Confused she was as a young person. And if somebody had actually given her some honest direction back then, she might have had less scars on her body and less scars on her personality, too. She is now identifying again as a woman, and she says she's proud of it. I saw her interviewed on one of the talk shows a couple of days ago. I think it was on Newsmax. And I thought to myself, God bless her. But she has to live now with this change in her life for the rest of her life. Because adults didn't take the responsibility. I really think that what's happened is a lot of parents and other support people have abdicated their responsibility as parents. When a kid comes up and says, I feel like a woman. Well, listen, Bob, you were born with certain chromosomes. Let me explain how it works. And technically, no matter what we call you and what you call yourself, technically you'll always be a male species. Now, you may not like that, but that's the way it is. You can act like something else. You can go through life differently, but still,
you are what you are.
Yeah.
And you know what? When you're young, you're going to be confused about hormonal changes because you're in the developmental stages of life. And that goes on for a long time. We're always changing as we grow older. But, sometimes, hard love, where you...
Yeah, tough love,
tough love
Yep.
is passed over for,
being a buddy.
I'm your buddy.
Yeah.
I'll do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And,
but Bill, there are a lot
about
of
sense of reason.
There are a lot of leftists out there who would hear us talk, who would think we're dinosaurs. Oh, that's not. That is ridiculous. He must have voted for Trump too. My God, what a ridiculous person.
Well, there's a lot of assumptions out there. We'll get into that in a minute. But I'm sitting there thinking. I had written a note down about what kind of politics it is, and sometimes reading through my chicken scratch is a tough thing to do. But,
Well,
you
should have been a doctor, Bill.
Yeah, I write prescriptions to myself all the time. Anyway, we're not, a lot of people are out there, politicians are not really worried about, doing what's good for the community or mankind. They want to rule in a favor of getting a vote, and they want control. I mean, you look at the illegal aliens, epidemic that's going on, sanctuary cities and everything. Are they legislating for the goodwill of people, or are they sitting there? Look at Medicaid. Medicaid is being drained by illegal aliens. These illegal aliens are not coming in here to take part in our community, pay and participate. They're coming in to vote and
Sure.
drain the system.
Absolutely.
And Yeah.
You know, if this guy up in
This
New
is
York
wrong.
City,
And this is
if this Mandami wins a New York bill, it's not going to be because of the people who've lived there for decades. It's going to be because of the illegals who were allowed to vote in the city.
he's going to win. And I mean, look, the election's coming up, what, in a couple of weeks on the 9th?
Is it? I'm not sure, Bill.
Yes, the 9th. It's a week from this Tuesday.
September.
Coming Tuesday. Yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't think it was that close. Wow.
Yeah, it is that close, and nobody's talking about it. And see now, and that's a purpose, because there are people, the Democrats are embracing communism and socialism, and it's on the ballot. Now, you Bill, we're not doing that. You have it on the ballot if you're blue. Vote blue, you're voting really for a deep, dark abyss.
Yes.
Because once you go there and other people follow suit,
What
and
you said
this is because
what you said is absolutely correct. Bill, the Democrats have embraced communism. You know, you can call it socialism, but it's communism.
And they're doing it because they want power and control. Well, in a roundabout way, they will have their power and control because they will be in, they love words, big words, oligarchy. Well, and okay, but you're a damn oligarch, you old fart, you got a lot of money, and I've never seen a poor politician. Maybe they were poor when they got there, but you can't even get there by being poor. All of a sudden, you've got donation money coming in. Well, some of that goes to you,
Yeah.
You got a hobnob with the power brokers and the high society.
Yeah.
That takes money, but we'll get you to an event. You'll get some money for the campaign. Put a little bit of that in your pocket, too. Now, I'm going to introduce you to this guy, and he's going to sit there and say, he's got a bill that's going to help out his business.
Yeah.
So, Jim, I'm going to help you out, to get your campaign going. I'm going to hire you as a consultant. What do you want me to consult? Just be my friend and just be a personal advisor, a coach of goodwill. That sounds good. And that's worth a few $100,000. All of a sudden, you're in the role. You're now you're in that game, and they got you on a hook because they got the bait for you. It's called money.
Yeah.
And then you do get into office.
It's sad. When I listened to Jacob Fry, the mayor of Minneapolis, come out at a press conference, it was a campaign speech. He came out and we talked about, never mind the prayers. Love these people, meaning the victims of the shooting. When someone goes through a crisis like this, it is generally believed, I being one of them, that the most important thing you can do is to pray for them. If you believe in God and a higher power, and I do, you turn to God and you ask God to walk with these people during these terribly, terribly difficult times. It's difficult for you as a stranger looking in to see this. Can you imagine what it's like for somebody who has to live it? It's got to be terrible. But this guy, this clown, I was very surprised, by the way, that he's still mayor of Minneapolis. He was there during the riots and the fire bombing of the police station. He's a clown, but yet he keeps getting voted in because the people in Minneapolis, for the most part, are refugees, who've come from Somalia and places like that, and they don't vote like we vote. They vote for ulterior reasons, But anyway, we were talking about this guy, Bill, before we lose the train.
Right.
Robin Weston. That's what they call. That's what he changed his name to. It was Robert when he was born, and for the first 17 years of his life, he was Robert Weston. But then he changed it to Robin Weston. Grew his hair long, put an earring in his ear, and told everybody he felt like a woman.
Good for you.
But he had a manifesto on YouTube, which they took down, I guess, yesterday. It was vile. You can see some of it if you go to certain websites. You can see bits of it. He had not just ammunition for his weapons. He had an AR-15, he had a handgun, he had a shotgun, and he must have had 300 rounds of bullets. He
was 22. He could buy all this stuff legally, so you gun control people. I get it on some weapons, but not all weapons.
You know what he had? He had armor-piercing bullets.
Well, you don't buy that at the gun shop.
Where do you get that? In his manifesto, Bill, I thought this was interesting, and absolutely nobody in mainstream media or even other shows, like talk shows, on talking about this. In the manifesto, he mentions BlackRock. I just thought, that's interesting. They pop up everywhere. They popped up with Thomas Matthew Crooks.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, he's this vile person mentions BlackRock in his manifesto.
Well, let's think about something here, because Matthew Crooks, you got the wrong guy. BlackRock and that teacher, and let's talk about the old CIA ops, MK Ultra, of the mind control. All of a sudden, these guys, they are compelled by some force to go out and kill a lot of people.
Yeah.
And do something. Now, when you told me this, the first thing I thought, and you said, well, you were looking at it from this guy is a bad player, which he is a bad player. And I immediately thought, you know what? The left is going to be out all over this. Occupy Democrat, Occupy Blue. That is the DNC, by the way. And I'm sitting there going, I'm going to know that this guy was programmed if they come out with a narrative and a jab at the right within an hour's time.
Yep.
Well, now,
they did.
We don't do video, but there it is.
Oh, yeah. I see it.
It goes, and they got his picture. And it says, the Minnesota Catholic school shooter has been identified as 20-year-old Robin Westman. They don't even talk about Robert. On his gun and magazines were written anti-black, anti-Hispanic, and anti-Semitic messages, such as 6 million wasn't enough.
Right.
Well, it said kill Trump on there. There was all kind. But they forget that. And then in big bold prints, he is not an immigrant. He is not Antifa. He is not an ISIS. He's yet another right-wing, white, nationalist, homegrown terrorist.
Absolutely, positively a lie.
Just like all the others, hit the thumbs up if America has a problem a wall can't fix. That is Democratic
That's a lie.
And the person that posted it, I'm sitting there going, you're ex-military. You ought to know better, because you are promoting something, and by pushing this agenda, and it's false news, you are now complicit.
Well,
number one, the party should be sued over this, and so should this person for posting that, because it's vile, it's wrong,
it's treasonous. It's inciting
absolute treason. You ought to lose your damn benefits. Sorry that you're a friend. You're not now. Lose your benefits, strip you of whatever rank you had, because you are a frickin' idiot. And I can say that honestly, because you said I was an idiot. There you go, back at you.
This guy, to say that he was a right wing, he didn't do his homework. That's the problem with the left. That's the problem with the left. They will look at a little bit of something and then make the whole story up based upon that little bit of news. The fact of the matter is, he hated Trump, he despised Trump, and he wanted Trump dead. That's not a right winger. Okay, it just is not a right winger. If anything, this kid was further left than you would ever want to admit to. And for you to say it's another right wing, it can't be fixed by a wall. Lady, you aren't paying attention. You're not paying attention. This has nothing to do with a wall. And obviously, if you don't think a wall works, then obviously you think that what Joe Biden did work. And you are an absolute ridiculous person. I'm not going to say what I really wanted to say, because I had to
you got to be careful. Well, the other thing I saw and somebody posting is like, these self-righteous Christians and gun
Oh,
toters and all of this stuff. And I'm like going, and that comes from Act Blue. And I'm going like, oh, you were really quick to the punch on that. Well, you know what? In his manifesto, self-righteous Christians, these Christians that do all this because he's a Christian, he hates Christians.
he hates
along with hating
despises them.
Trump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the soft
And
target? The soft target was a church, a Christian church with children.
kids. Yeah. So, you know what? I'm sorry. But, if you ask me, somebody knew that this guy was going to do this. And, I want to say a particular party might have known. I'm not going to say that, but it sure seems funny that they were out with the diatribe to try to shift focus and put a negative taint on conservatives, Christians, and the Republican Party, and Trump, and the wall, and gun control.
The very first thing
Those
I
are
heard,
the
by
things
the
that
way,
the Democrats are against all the way across
the very
board.
first thing I heard was about it was the gun's fault. That's the problem with the left.
Well, I had to talk with my gun, and I told it not to go and shoot anybody.
Well, the left doesn't understand that a gun is a tool, like a hammer. If a carpenter does something bad with a hammer, do you blame the hammer and take away all the hammers? It's the person who makes the mistake. It's the person who does the crime. It's not the weapon. You may say, well, he can't do the crime. He can't do the crime if he doesn't have a gun. Oh, pal, you people are very creative. If they don't have a gun, they'll figure out a way to do what they want to do. Trust me. But a gun, by the way, has saved a lot of people. I was reading the other day about a home invasion, and a person saved his family by having a weapon in his house. I was reading another story last week about how a young teenager, 14-year-old girl, saved herself from God knows what because her house was invaded by two criminals who had a history of sexual violence and she could have been even worse. And she ended up, because she was a sharpshooter in the gun club, she shot these two guys, much to their surprise.
I got to tell you, if there was ever a time in history, in old history, you couldn't have had a security camera, but if there was ever a time in history that you should, number one, have security monitors around your house, number two, own a gun, and number three, know how to use that gun. Go out and take shooting lessons so that you can defend yourself. Because we used to put iron, attractive iron rods on our windows to seal them to keep burglars out. Double bolt locks on our doors, secure doors. It's not enough anymore. And the bad guys are getting in, and we're letting bad players into the country. They get to drain our benefits. Medicaid is in trouble because of all the illegal aliens. And you thought, well, how can just a few thousand of these people do that? Well, it's not a few thousand, a couple of millions. Oh, okay. Well, how can that do it? Well, 14 million. Well, okay. But that's still not enough. 55 plus million people. All right, now we got a problem, plus the people that are naturally on it. And
I knew that when Biden was doing what he was doing, it was going to be an issue. I knew it back then. And everybody said, oh, no, they'll never get on Medicaid. They'll never drain benefits. They'll be in the country, but they won't take away. Baloney. Biden fast-tracked these people to all of these benefits. Some of these people have better benefits than you and I have, and we've worked our whole life here.
Not some, all of them.
Well, all I can tell you is this, folks. These are times that are going to challenge a lot of normal Americans, whether they want it or not. Those comments that you read from the people, your friends on the left, I say friends loosely, but, the acquaintances on the left who make these snide remarks, that's an example of how some people feel. And no matter what you do, no matter how logical you are, you're not going to get them to change because...
Well, they're not going to change, but the one thing they can't do is argue truth and logic. If you've got that on your side...
What they do is they get angry and storm off. They don't listen to you. They just don't.
No. They know they can't win the argument. So they got to go. But you know what? If they engage you, hit them with a truth bomb, because they just like this guy, Robert.
Yeah.
Robert has heard all the messages that has been out in mainstream media, has heard other messages, somehow got involved with BlackRock, and your radical left people that are out there posting all that stuff, they are one step away from picking a gun themselves and going out and doing mass mayhem. And I sincerely believe that, and I also believe we need to probably take a break.
By the way, before we break, I just want to say that in this manifesto, this Robert wrote, he made fun of Christ, of Jesus Christ. Now, I'm going to tell you something, lefties. A person on the right, for the most part, we believe in Jesus Christ, or conservatives. If they're Jewish conservatives, they believe in the right for Christian conservatives to believe in Jesus Christ. Do you know? Either it's one or the other. You guys on the left, you believe in nothing.
Yeah. Now, I will say, because, somebody was going, about the self-righteous Christian people, there are people that use the banner of Christ but they're posers to get their way on something. There are bad players in both sides. Don't confuse those posers with people of real Christian and faith values. Don't let that cloud your way. You've already got a clouded mind. And that is...
And a reminder yesterday, right? Mm-hmm. Those were Christians, little Christians. I got some audio I want to play before we go on to another topic. But first, you did mention about taking a break, and I think that's a very good idea. Like and share our show if you would. Like and share our program. Also, if you want to contact us, it's mail@jimandbill.com.
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
Available at rightsideshop.com. I was telling you about the audio that I have. There was this little guy, God bless him. He was in the church when all hell broke loose, literally. And he had an interesting story, and he's only 10 years old. He looks like you're staring. If I were casting in Hollywood for a little 10-year-old boy, all-American boy, I would hire this kid. His name is Weston Hesney, and Helsney, I guess it is. And he stood in front of reporters and cameras, and he held his own for 10 years old. Here's how it went.
It was like the shots fired, and then he kind of like got under the pews. It kind of, they shot through the stained glass windows, I think. And it was really scary.
What did you do after that?
Well, we waited like 10 to 5 minutes. I don't really know. And then we went to the gym, and then the doors locked just to make sure he didn't come. And we waited in the gym for more news, and everyone was okay. Or most people were okay.
Who are you, your friend, Wes?
My friend got hit in the back.
Did he go to the hospital?
Yeah, he went to the hospital.
What went through your mind when you saw that?
I was super scared for him, but I think now he's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you get reunited with your parents?
Yeah, my mom was waiting outside of the church when it happened.
Yeah.
And then
what was it like seeing her?
I was super happy because, like, I was scared that I wasn't going to see her because I didn't know what was happening, really. I was just in shock.
And was it behind you where it was happening, or in front of you, just kind of?
It was, like, right beside me. I was, like, 2 seats away from the stained glass windows. So they were, like, the shots were, like, right next to me.
It's scary.
Yeah.
You went under the pew after that happened?
Yeah. And
Is that what everyone tried to do?
I think I got, like, gunpowder on my neck. Yeah.
When you heard the shots, what went through your head?
I was like, the first one, I was like, what is that? I thought it was just something. Then when I heard it again, I just ran under the pew. And then I covered my head. My friend Victor, like, saved me, though, because he laid on top of me, but he got hit.
Your friend laid on top of you?
Yeah, and he got hit.
Is this something that you've practiced before?
Yeah, we practice it like every month, or I don't know, but yeah, we've never practiced it in the church though. Only in school, so it was way different.
Was your mom super happy to see you?
Yeah.
Give you a big hug?
What was that hug like?
I just felt like relieved, kind of.
Yeah.
I was very happy.
You're really brave, you know that?
Yeah.
Did you have any brothers and sisters there, or was it just you?
My brother's in the sophomore year of De La Salle. He used to go to Annunciation. He got out early because of it.
You guys were at like the mass that they do at the beginning of school?
And then it was like maybe like 3 minutes in, the first shot fired. And then the police were really good because they showed up really quick.
Yeah.
And then did everybody try to make you feel safe?
Yeah.
But it has to be probably the scariest thing of your life.
Yeah, it was super scary.
What do you want to say to your friend who helped protect you?
He's really brave, and I hope he's good in the hospital.
And what do you want to say to everyone that had to go to the hospital?
I hope you're okay, and I'm praying for you.
What a nice little guy. And,
Cool kid.
He was standing, Bill, right next to the stained glass window when the shots went off. Yeah. And he was close enough to see what the guy looked like. Listen.
My friend, ran, someone helped him, run out. He saw him. He was wearing all black, and he had a ski mask on. I was down, so I didn't really look up. I mean, he got shot through the stained glass windows, so they're probably ruined. And then my friend Victor, he was laying on top of me, making sure I was safe, and he got hit. So that was really brave of him.
And you have a nick on your neck?
Yeah, I don't even know what it's from. Kind of looks like debris or something.
Yeah, he had a little nick on the left side of his neck, and the reporter said, "You got hit on the side of your neck." He said, "Yeah, I don't know where that's from. Maybe it's just debris or something." He's a 10-year-old, right?
Mm-hmm.
That
He
second
got flak,
part,
yeah.
That second report, Bill, was from Fox. The first longer report was from NBC, and but this kid was articulate, and I mean, for him to be able to describe what the shooter was wearing, kind of amazing,
Wait, he was smart. He had compassion, humanity, and he went to a Catholic school?
Yeah. I don't. Yeah, go figure, right? He was,
and he'll pray for you, even though and all that chaos and mayhem.
Yeah,
he
wasn't
was
angry.
calm.
He wasn't angry.
Yeah. The innocence of a child.
Yeah.
Absolutely. One of the things that I was just sitting here thinking, because I was looking at yesterday's notes and something I didn't talk about, which was a big story, and that was out, but we didn't talk about, and you didn't see it on the news yesterday, but it's pretty, all the burn bags of Biden that were there that they've recovered, and even more. I mean, they've got a treasure trove of documents that talk about the 2020 election, and that apparently there is significant, I don't want to sit there and say it was stolen, even though I sincerely believe that. I also know that, what's there in the burn bags, point a very damning, accusing finger at the Biden administration and the left that it was stolen. Now, with that news there, it just seems convenient that this catastrophe, this disaster happened.
Well,
and again, BlackRock, mind control. I'm just saying, I don't want to go conspiracy, but you know what I'm saying.
You mentioned burn bags, right?
Yeah.
The president talked about it in his cabinet meeting. Listen.
Transparency, telling the truth is what will drive true accountability for the American people who deserve nothing less. And lastly, Mr. President, all of us are charged with being good stewards of taxpayer dollars. I've gone through a reorganization for ODNI that we've announced in the last week. We've cut nearly half of redundant, unnecessary functions within ODNI, saving taxpayers over $700 million a year. We will continue focusing on our core mission in keeping the American people safe, and appreciate your leadership and your focus on this most critical task.
And you've also found many bags of information. I think they call them burn bags. They're supposed to be burned and they didn't get burned, having to do with how corrupt the 2020 election was. And when will that all come out?
Mr. President, I will be the first to brief you once we have that information collected. But you're right, we are finding documents literally tucked away in the back of safes in random offices, in these bags and in other areas, which again speaks to the intent of those who are trying to hide the truth from the American people and trying to cover up the politicization that was led by people like John Brennan and James Clapper and others that have caused really immeasurable harm to the American people and to our country.
Great job. Thank you. We look forward to hearing it. The public looks
That's
forward to
the
it.
mayor talking to Tulsi Gabbard. She found a bunch of those bags that was supposed to be burned, and they weren't.
Mm-hmm. You wonder how people do that, but, I was thinking about it. It's kind of easy to do. If you get complacent and you're relaxed in your job and don't think that you're ever going to be ousted. Trump came in and did a big, massive clearing of house, along with Elon Musk. People were, really just rushed out the door with it. Oh, he can't do that. Well, now what's coming up is these people that left offices and, they might sit there and go, well, where am I going to keep this document? I better keep it for a little while because they're under safe haven there with, their Democratic Party. So it goes, in a file somewhere. And then down the road, somebody goes, well, you know what? That stuff needs to be, gathered up, bundled up so we can take it and destroy it. Okay. Well, it's a mess in the office. They cubby hole it away. And then all of a sudden, they're no longer there. Somebody finds that evidence and, gets it. And goes,
you mentioned that it seems more than a coincidence that they find these burn bags and all of this stuff that points to people getting into a lot of trouble, right? And then you have a major catastrophe. And I was thinking, I believe, and this is just me, but I believe that there's an element in our government, you can call them the deep state, and I do call them the deep state, that doesn't value life. You may say, well, what do you mean by that, Jim? I'll tell you what. You may look at the border as a simple letting innocent people into the country to share our wealth, right? No. When you say that you're not going to protect the border, you are actually acknowledging that you will allow any element into our country, not just good people. There was never any guarantee when Biden stopped defending our border that only good people were coming into our country. He knew that when he lowered that border, all bets were off. Anybody and everybody got in. And we got some pretty bad people. We got criminals, sex offenders, human traffickers. We got drug dealers. We got gang members into the country that wouldn't have been here if those politicians really cared for the lives of the everyday American. If they cared about Bill Knight, if they cared about Jim Harrington, if they cared about you, the listener, they would have said, well, we can't do that because we don't know what's going to happen to the neighborhoods and to the regular Americans out there who trust us. And I really believe, Bill, you mentioned that shooting. I wouldn't put it past them to say, well, we needed a distraction. We got to get the focus off of us. We got to do something. I mean, it's coming down hard. Okay, well, let's have a shooting.
Well, they say follow the money. And I'm going to set something up here, but the simple fact is Black Rock was mentioned in the manifesto, and that's no mistake.
Right.
And it's been, it was around with Matthew Crooks, too, who tried to kill Trump.
Right.
And there are people on the left who goes, he got grazed. Oh, that was all fake. Forget about that, but let's look at the commonalities that are there. Manifestos, Black Rock, hate for everything there. Now, we also have the border issue. And a country is not a country without a border. I mean, to have a country, you've got to have borders. All the countries in the world have to have that. But the one thing that doesn't want a border, that is global, is a corporation. A corporation thrives without borders.
Right.
So I'm just sitting there saying, you look at BlackRock, it is beneficial for this country to have no borders and maybe not be a country at all. And then this process goes on in other places where it is going on in other places, to where this one global community, and it's owned by money. You're talking about the deep state. This is deep state ops.
This guy wanted to kill President Trump too. He just didn't have the opportunity, so he went to a soft target where he could wreak a lot of havoc. You get his message out. But Bill, there's a lot of similarities between Thomas Matthew Crooks and Robert Weston. Even in appearance, they look like in the group they look like the outsider, if you know what I'm saying. So, the
lone wolf.
The lone wolf, exactly right. And they had. You have to ask, how did they get these weapons? How did somebody with all these issues that Robert Weston had and Thomas Matthew Crooks had, how did they get the AR-15s and the ammunition?
Well, they got them. Armor-piercing bullets, too. I mean, military-grade bullets.
Yep.
Which, they had to get them from somebody on the other side of the fence, within the military.
Right.
Or somebody that supplies the arms, to people like that. But I'm more concerned with, okay, there's got to be, there's an indoctrination, a programming, whatever you want to call it. But with that, how did they get to them? How did they find them? And then how are they communicating to them to activate them? Because is this guy's task a setup for something else? Or is it coming from these little hate things that you see, these memes that are out there? Not every meme may come from the same place. And it might say.
Maybe the questions that you just asked answer this. I was thinking, Kash Patel came out yesterday and said that the FBI is going to investigate this as a hate crime against the Catholic Church and the Catholic faith. And you may say, well, what does that mean? The guy's dead. Well, here's what we don't know. Yes, the shooter's dead, but we do not know whether there's anyone behind him in any fashion, in any way, supporting him, encouraging him, moving him along to the point where he did what he did. A lot of people just assume, well, he was a loner and he got the stuff himself. We don't know that. And that's why the FBI is going to investigate the shooting as an act of domestic terrorism and hate crime targeting Catholics. And I think they're going to find out some interesting stuff. In the past, the FBI hasn't done that. They've kind of let it all go. We still don't have the answers on Butler, PA. Do you know any more about Thomas Matthew Crooks now than you did the day after the shooting? Probably not. They burned his body after the autopsy. They cremated him. You would have thought that there was a sale on cremation. They had him into that crematorium and he was gone. So there'd be no second autopsy. There would be no more examinations.
Destroy the evidence.
Yes, exactly right. And God knows, Bill, they may do the same thing with this kid. I'd be very...
his body will be, if it's not being cremated today or destroyed today, it will be tomorrow. You can't let it go too long. And that should tell you something right there. That should be a signal that there is something bigger afoot, a bigger player out there.
Hey, for all we know, you said what triggers these people. Hey, who's to say they're not chipped? You're saying, well, what are you talking about? Well,
okay.
What if they're chipped?
Well, let me ask you this question. What things can be injected into you, microprobes.
We just talked about it the other day, right? About the tattoo chip, the tattoo phone.
Tattoo chip for the phone. That's a real thing. That's a whole different subject.
Right.
But that is a real thing that they do, and that's basically, they're talking about doing away with the smartphone. Bill Gates is into this. You can look for.
But it's kind of the same technology, isn't it, though, Bill?
Exactly. Yeah. What you do is you look up Bill Gates tattoo, smartphone. Those 3 words will give you the story, and it doesn't come from a rogue place. And you've got Bill Gates talking about it. He's invested into this. And probably in the next 3 to 5 years, you want to have your cell phone because you're addicted to it now. It's a drug. It's a candy. You can't see a person. I compel you today to put your phone away, and when you're driving around, you watch and see how many people you see driving, looking at their phone.
Oh, I know.
How many people you see walking mindlessly on the sidewalk. We've learned how to walk a straight line while staring at our phone. We might walk into a post or, not remember how many steps it is to the street curb and walk out in front of a car, but we are glued to that cellular phone.
On average, young people are looking at their phones 8 hours a day.
So, it's just like when you had, let's say that you have a Motorola phone from 10 or 15 years ago. I'm going to fire that up, and I'm going to charge it up, and I'm going to turn it on. It's not compatible to today's network. It's a piece of crap.
But no, it was actually the perfect phone for mobility in that it was only a phone. If you had a Motorola brick, they used to call it.
I had a backbone. What are you talking about?
You stuck it between your seat and your car. And when your phone rang, you picked it up, you answered the phone, talked on it, and then hung up and put it away. And you didn't stare at it because it offered you nothing.
Yeah.
Now, these new phones, all you do is stare at it.
Yeah. Hey, it's come a long way. I remember, doing some record stuff out in L.A. and, in your car, in the trunk was a big metal clunk thing bolted down. Well, that was a cellular phone. And then the wires went up, and he had a nice little phone in the car, and you could be sitting there on the phone as you go up through Mickey D's, and people, wow, he's got a phone. But it's come a long way to where, this little device, you can program a rocket to Mars with it, with the computing power in it. But that is going to go away. You're addicted to it. It's a drug. It's a candy. It's like a person that's got a cigarette. I dare you to put down the cigarettes for a day. You will be frantic. If you drink Cokes, you'll be a frantic. Hey, we got to take a break. So do like and share the show. It's mail@jimandbill.com, and we will be right back.
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
Available at rightsideshop.com. You were talking about some of your acquaintances who are on the left, and they're always trying to zing you and berate you because you're conservative. And
no, I don't care.
Well, and I'm glad you don't. I don't either. I just ignore.
You don't care about me, Jim?
Yeah, no, but I ignore people who make snide remarks about how my beliefs. My beliefs are my beliefs, whether you like them. And that's the other thing, Bill. Nobody's being forced at gunpoint to listen to our podcast. But which, by the way, is heard around the world in numerous countries on a daily basis. They would like you to think that you don't have the audience that you have. The left loves to minimize it. Trust me, folks, we are heard by tens of thousands around the world. Believe it or not. I know it amazes me too. Don't say, boy, you must be rich, Jim, because there's no money in what we do. There really isn't.
Yeah, and one of the things that the left tries to do when they minimize you or attack you, say, nobody listens to your show. You've got a dying show or this or that.
Yeah.
Well, and then it's interesting. You sit there going, well, you obviously don't listen. How can you say that?
Well, I've heard it.
Today you were talking about this. This happened to me, by the way, in Pittsburgh when I programmed a talk station. Not for me, but the host. And this guy was sitting there going on, talking about, a guy by the name of Jim Quinn worked for me. This morning he talked about this, and yesterday he talked about this, and yesterday and I didn't say anything. He talked about this, and, Monday he was talking about this, and last week he was on this bit, every day about this. And finally I said, got you. And he stopped. He goes, what? I said, got you. He goes, what do you mean? I said, my job is to build listeners. And you just cited off a week and a half worth of listening.
Yeah.
You listen to the show.
By the way, you talk about the late, great Jim Quinn.
He's a great guy.
Good guy. I knew him. He was before he was a talk show host, he was a very successful jock, too. So he had a great career. And we we lost him about a year ago. Good guy.
No, not quite that long, but close.
Yeah, maybe half a year ago.
Yeah.
You know, Jesse Waters, a reason why I got on this topic, Jesse Waters was talking with the founder of White Dudes for Harris. That must be a big organization, White Dudes for Harris. And he's one of these guys on the left who, regardless of the facts, regardless of where we're going, he still thinks Trump is the problem. I want you to hear this. Listen.
I think the challenge here is that Donald Trump is playing a lot of theater in order to ultimately distract from what he doesn't want to talk about, which is the economy. But at the end of the day, what he's doing and what I find to be offensive is he's using Jesse.
I mean, distraction. He talked about the economy for 3 hours at a cabinet meeting today. How's this a distraction? He was elected, one of the reasons, to fight crime, and he's doing it.
Jesse, he's boasting about record tariff intake that the government is taking, but he's not talking about inflation anymore because everything's more expensive. And as I've reminded you on your own program before, Fox's own polling shows Donald Trump is as unpopular on inflation as Joe Biden was at the height of the inflation.
So when
period.
he gets stimmy checks out to all these Democrats, they're just not going to cash them, right? They'll send them back in. They'll send them back in, we'll pay down the debt, and they'll refuse to cash them. Mike, I'm talking about crime. You say it's a distraction.
Sure.
I say it's one of the many things he's been successful at. The border, crime, getting companies to invest here in America. Why does it have to be a distraction? Why can't it just be, hey, he's juggling a lot of balls?
Yeah, he's juggling a lot of balls. And look, I'll give some credit because the numbers are better, but the numbers are better because the military are on our streets. And if you look at the economic numbers in Washington, D.C., you can tell that people don't feel safe in D.C. Restaurant revenue dropped 40%. People don't feel safe to go out to a restaurant.
Mike, you're comparing restaurant revenue from Restaurant Week from a different week. That's been debunked.
No, I'm not, Jesse.
It's been
debunked,
Mike. We debunked it on the 5. You should watch the 5. Okay. You learn a lot. But tell me this, should Chicago invite the Guard in? I mean, they have a real problem with homicides.
No, look, I think Chicago needs to do a better job of dealing with crime. Our local leaders need to do a better job of dealing with crime. But the city of Chicago has had a chance to vote for Donald Trump 3 times, and he lost by 80% each of the 3 times that he was on the ballot. I think if Donald Trump wants to get involved heavily in issues somewhere else, he should go look at red states, because Donald Trump doesn't have any urgency to deal with Louisiana, which is the murder capital of the United States. He doesn't have anything to say about Oklahoma, which has the worst schools in the nation. Doesn't have anything to say about Arkansas,
Mike,
which has the highest teen pregnancy rate.
Those are crime-ridden, too. Those are crime-ridden, too, and if the mayor
when's
wants
Donald Trump going to do something about the crime rate that's happening in Republican
Chicago's a little bigger than Baton Rouge, Mike, okay? And you live in Chicago, and you should care. Did you hear my friend out there in the monologue talking about her cousin, her uncle, her niece? They're all dead, Mike. Do you care about that at all? Your mayor doesn't care. Your mayor doesn't want any backup. They're offering him more cops, more guard, and he says, no, more housing. What the hell's wrong with him?
Hey, listen, I care about the crime that happens in Chicago, but I also care about making sure that people feel safe. And I know that I'm not going to feel safe in my city if when I take my son to school, I have to drive by a tank. I know I'm not going to feel safe if when I take him to a ball game, I'm going to see armed military members.
Okay, does that scare you to see a tank,
hang on, Jesse, can I finish my point?
Does that scare you?
Jesse.
I'd be more scared of strays, but go ahead.
No, because I'm willing to support, I'm happy to support having more police on the streets of Chicago to help keep us safe. The problem is, in Donald Trump's budget that he signed by the Republicans, he cut community police funding by $2 billion, which means there'll be fewer police on the streets.
Mike, you guys defunded the police, so don't talk about cutting funding.
No, Donald Trump is the one who defunded the police.
Didn't. Everybody knows the Democrats defunded.
Did Donald Trump sign the Republican budget, Jesse?
All over the country, Mike. I don't have time to debate that, but I respect that you are from Chicago and you want to be safe and you don't want to see a tank when you see the White Sox lose, and that's okay. That's okay.
But I want to. First of all, I'm a Cubs fan before I'm a White Sox fan.
Okay, good. Well, I knew I liked you. But we are all in agreement that Chicago needs to do a lot better. You and I will agree on that.
I think a lot of cities need to do better, Jesse, and I'm tired of Republicans blaming all the crime on Democratic states.
Well, most of them are run by Democrats.
About his own states?
Most of them are run by Democrats, but we don't have to count it right now.
Jesse Waters talking with a guy named Mike Nellis. And he had the audacity to say that Trump defunded the police. What a moron. I mean, anybody who's paying attention knows that Trump is a massive supporter of the police and in building the police forces. He said he doesn't want to get up in the morning and take his kid to school and drive by a tank. First of all, in D.C., they may have a few Humvees, not a lot, but a few.
Wait a minute.
But I haven't seen any tanks on the streets.
No, you haven't. And you know what? He is setting up a socialist point of view. Trump defunded the police. You know why? All right, what happens on the 9th of this month? Well, there's an election in every state, and Mandani is up for mayor of New York. First thing he wants to do is squash the police. He would rather have social counselors out there, or even less than that. He's going to this whole different thing, state-owned stores. But by pushing the narrative now, Trump defunded the police. We know that's wrong, but the Democrats will take a lie and shove it out there and tell it enough to where it becomes the truth, and then it becomes even if we don't believe it now, when Mandani takes over and things fail, that's their safety net. Well, Trump is the reason we don't have police.
Unbelievable.
No, it's not. It's your own stupidity.
And this is why Trump does, for example, 3-hour press conferences with the media right there, live on television, so that the people can see exactly what he's saying, what he's thinking, what he's doing, something that Joe Biden didn't do in his entire presidency. But, they talked about Chicago. They got a clown for a mayor. I didn't think they could get somebody worse than Lori Lightfoot. She was the mayor previous to this guy. But they actually found somebody named Brandon Johnson, who is, with all due respect, a moron. He appeared on MSNBC Morning Joe. Now, this is not a show that is Trump-friendly. MSNBC's Morning Joe, they've been left as left can be, and but even they couldn't swallow the pablum that Brandon Johnson was throwing at them. He avoided talking about having more police in the city, saying that it was a good idea. Listen.
Policing alone, you've told me everything else you want. I'm curious, and this does come down to an ideological difference between people. Do you believe that the streets of Chicago would be safer if there were more uniformed police officers on the streets of Chicago?
I believe the city of Chicago and cities across America would be safer if we actually had, affordable housing. Look,
okay,
I'm not saying that we don't.
That's not the question I asked. My question is, and I just need a yes or a no, do you believe the streets of Chicago would be safer if you got all of those other extraordinary programs put back into place, which do have a history of being successful, if that's complemented by having 5,000 more cops on the streets of Chicago?
I don't believe that we should narrow it down to just police officers, Joe, is what I'm saying. That is an antiquated approach. I'm saying we've invested in detectives.
Mr. Mayor, are you hearing what I'm saying? I'm agreeing with you that all of these other social programs are extraordinarily important. I just need a yes or a no, and then this will be the last time I ask. If you get all of those other social programs that 800 million that New York City does, Los Angeles, other people do with great success, would an additional 5,000 cops on the streets in Chicago help complement those programs to make Chicago safer?
Look, we are working hard to make sure that our police department is fully supported. I don't believe that just simply putting out an arbitrary number around police officers is the answer. What I'm saying is policing and affordable housing. It's policing and mental and behavioral health care services. It's policing and youth employment. It's a full package.
This guy is a buffoon, and he did everything he could do to avoid answering the question. 5,000 more police going to help your city? Well, I think we need more housing. What? What the hell? No, we didn't ask you about housing. We asked you about police. And, when he avoids the question 3 times in a row, that says to me That's intentional, folks. He has thought this through, and he doesn't want more cops. He's anti-cop. But yet that clown Nellis with Jesse Waters just said that it was Trump who was defunding the police. These people are shameless. The people on the left think they can throw anything at the public, and they'll believe it. That's why.
But sadly, a lot of them do, because you got a compliant media out there that they're no longer journalists. What they do is they sit there, instead of reporting a story with no opinion, just straightforward, just being objective with the news. Here's the story. That's what it is. You take it the way you will. Let the people make up their mind. But no. Now the news takes a side, and they make your mind up for you, and a lot of times it is a narrative that they are, either friendly to or have become indoctrinated into. We don't have fair journalism here. We never have, really, but it's gotten bad now. We're not going to get the truth.
And something else is happening. There is a rebellion going on. You may have heard that lady who's in the Fed, was it Lisa Cook? I think that was her first name. She was fired by President Trump, but she's bound and determined not to leave, which I think will be interesting. Yeah, and I don't think she's moving her office just yet. Listen to this. At least 3 senior CDC officials resigned on Wednesday after Dr. Susan Monranez was ousted as the CDC director. And one of the guys, by the way, who quit, one of the senior people, when you hear that, CD, Center for Disease Control, right? Oh my goodness, these has got to be the best of the best. There's a picture. He must have had it online. He looks like one of the Village people. He's got, that leather motorcycle cap that a lot of guys, he has that kind of a hat on. He's shirtless with tattoos all over his body, and he's wearing leather straps. And this is one of the 3 CDC doctors who quit because Dr. Susan Moranis was ousted, rather. And I think, where do they... You couldn't find this kind of stuff. With all of the doctors, with all the qualifications, with all the credentials, with all of the great minds out there in medicine they could have picked from, they found one of them who has a predilection to wearing leather and, looking like one of the Village people. He looked like he was getting ready to go on stage. And by the way, there was an update to that story. The reason why I wanted to mention Lisa Cook, she says she's not going to leave, she was fired, but he's only the president. Well, there's an update. Monarez, she's the one who was removed from her position at the CDC. Her lawyer said Monarez has neither resigned or been fired. Well, that's not what everyone else is saying, but I also heard that they have the same lawyer. So this will be interesting. I was thinking, is this some kind of a sub-revolution going on where people who are being removed by the President of the United States refuse to leave? I'm just saying. This is going to get interesting. So that was the other thing that... but, Bill, this story here. Listen to this.
All right.
An illegal alien child sex offender was found living in a daycare in L.A. I'm sorry, San Diego. In Southern California, same thing, Esquiel Cruz Rodriguez, a 47-year-old Mexican national and convicted child sex offender, was detained by ICE agents while living in a licensed home daycare in San Diego. Now, this is the part I didn't understand. Rodriguez has been previously deported from the United States twice, in 1996 and 2012, and was a registered sex offender in California at the time of his first deportation. His criminal record includes a 1996 conviction for a lewd and lascivious act with a child under 14. The daycare, Little Hands, that's strange name. Little Hands Academy Family Childcare is operated by Rodriguez's partner, Dulce Villagomez, and has been licensed since 2016. Okay. Doesn't anybody go to these daycare and actually check them and see who's hanging around these daycare? Don't they have inspectors who say, okay, you're here and your partner is a child sex offender? Well, I think we have to pull your license. My question is how they got the license in the first place. It only seems to happen in California, too. But
a lot of weird things happen out there. But, Gavin is he's rallying to be I don't know how he's doing it. There was a picture where he looked like the Joker, and I actually doctored it to where he really did, wait until you get a load of me in the White House after what I did to California. But, and it's really true. I mean, he's got the worst record of anybody, but he and Kamala, believe it or not, are the great hopes for the Democratic Party unless they go. And I think what's going on in New York and some other areas are an experiment for the left to say, screw it, we're going socialist. Or
well,
communist.
It's funny. I was reading where there is a massive move from the black community to the Republican Party. Think about that for a second. That's a portion of their voting presence that has. They've just taken it for granted, the Democrats. Oh, they're going to vote for us. They're blacks and they're traditional Democrats. Not anymore.
Who's fallen under a lot of from the Democrat Party and whatnot. I know you know the name Snoop Dogg, right?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Well, he is totally offended, and he does not like the indoctrination of taking LGBTQ, indoctrination into the kids, into early learning. This is wrong.
Well,
you can't incorporate this in everything. And the left is screaming at him and everything. No, he's not a bad guy, but, sure, he can be crass at times, but he's a funny guy. But the simple fact is, you don't do that to children. What are you going to do next to them?
Snoop Dogg, if I remember correctly, is a Pittsburgh Steelers fan.
Yeah, he is.
And the Steelers did something which put them at the outs with the NFL. The NFL said, we want to have you put signage up to promote the LGBTQ community in the stadium. And the Steelers said, no, we don't do that in Pittsburgh. Think about that for a second. They stood up against the NFL, and they got fined for it, big time. And Art Rooney II came out with a response. It's 5 words. And the response to the NFL was, we stand by our values. Period. And I thought,
actually, that's a good statement.
Yep, we stand by our values. I thought, wow. That's pretty. That's solid. I like. Another reason why I like following this team, but kind of amazing in a time when these owners go. They follow along like sheep. One after the other. Finally, one of them is standing up. And by the way, you have to remember that Art Rooney's, I guess his dad, Dan Rooney, was an ambassador to Ireland. The late Dan Rooney was under Obama. So he's not like a conservative, strong conservative guy. If anything, his family is more Democratic than anything else. But
that's old Democratic.
Yes.
There's old and new.
Absolutely.
And I think there's even a difference between old, new, and now. Because now there's a fashion where they let in AOC. She's a devout socialist. She said it. The squad, they're all socialist. And now you got Mandani. Well, no, he's a communist. Yeah. And you got a guy in Minneapolis, I think it's there, or one of the states running that's a communist.
Yeah, I think was it Michigan?
Minnesota?
Michigan or Minnesota? Anyway, yeah, I think it was Minnesota, Bill, but I'm not sure exactly where. But yes, no, it's Michigan. Now Michigan. You got me. It's one of those states that start with an M.
It's one of the M's, yeah.
Yes. Anyway. Looking at the clock on the wall, I think we've just about done it, my friend. Is there anything else you want to add before we wrap
There's
this
a
one
lot
up?
of things to talk about, but, let me just do a quick little peruse right here just to see. Oh, well, this is kind of funny. This is funny. The Burning Man, I
heard about
thing in Nevada.
Yes.
The Burning Man 2025.
Yes.
Well, it turned into hell on earth. Now this is where they have these big tents, and it's sex and debauchery and masochism.
Yes.
Masochism. Yeah, I can't talk.
Yes.
But, and they whip each other, and they do all kinds of vile, perverted sex. And I'm not downplaying sex, but I'm saying there's good and there's bad. These people are bad. And I guess, God blew in a windstorm and blew their tents away.
Yes.
And
It was. I think it was what do they call it? A freak thunderstorm. It comes in, and by the way, like that tent they call it the orgy tent.
Yeah, the orgy tent.
Yes.
Yeah, and they have bands there too. So
who's listening?
Yeah.
You want to feel really depressed as a musician. You be a musician in the orgy tent, where nobody's paying attention to what you do.
Oh man. Well, I have a story for that, but I'm going to leave it alone.
But didn't last year at the Burning Man, whatever it is, it was another bad situation where the weather was terrible and people got bogged down. They couldn't get cars in and out of the place. It was a mess. You would think that they would do something to rectify the problems they had the year before, but apparently they haven't.
Or move it, but you know what?
Maybe it's God's way of telling these people to get their act together.
That's a smack down by God going,
yeah.
You going to do this again?
Yeah.
So do it again.
Yeah.
You've heard of, have you heard of Sodom and Gomorrah?
Yes.
Don't look back.
Yes. You'll be the
Don't
salt of
turn
the
your
earth.
head.
Yeah. Anyway, listen, my friend, interesting way to end the program. Have a great one. And with a little bit of luck, we'll do it again tomorrow.
I'm going on a salt-free diet now. Until we meet again. Hasta la vista, baby. We're out of here.
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
Available at rightsideshop.com. This is CRN America.